This week on Culture Leaders, I sat down with Stacy Martinet, the Chief Communications Officer at Adobe, and someone at the forefront of one of the most defining technological shifts of our time. Stacy believes that everyone has a story to tell and that technology can help amplify it. Her career has spanned media and tech, New York Times, and now Adobe, but what ties it all together is a deep commitment to making creativity more accessible, more inclusive, and more impactful. In this conversation, we talked about AI, the frenzy, the fear, and the real opportunities. Stacy shares how Adobe is using AI not only to empower customers and creators, but also to change how their own teams work internally. She offers a window into Adobe's change management strategy, the evolving role of authenticity in leadership, and why video is the new universal language for brands and individuals alike. She also makes a compelling case for something more leaders should start saying. I don't know. It's a thoughtful and energized conversation with someone who's not just watching the future unfold, she's helping to shape it. Please welcome to the podcast, Stacy Martinet. Stacy, thank you so much for joining us today. I can't wait to hear, what is your why?
Well, hi, Jessica. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed listening to multiple episodes of your podcast. And that question has been inspiring to hear from some of your guests, their why. And as I'm thinking about it, for me, there's two parts. One, I think everyone has a story to tell, right? I think initially, earlier in my career, I gravitated towards journalism for that reason. Um, and through my career, I've seen the power of technology to transform people's lives, their careers, businesses. And so that combination of storytelling and technology is why I love my job and why I love what we're doing at Adobe and bringing that through the lens of creativity for all.
So, storytelling and technology, is that your personal why, or is that your corporate why, or are they the same? I mean, is that what wakes you up in the morning and get super excited about it? No judgment. I just want to know if that's really your like deep down soulful why. It might be.
Yeah, no, I think it's both actually, because what brought me to Adobe coming from the media industry was its mission. And going in house to a brand, I wanted to go to a brand that I really believed in the mission, because when you do the work I do, I feel I want to be authentic about it and I want to have a passion for it. And I think deep personally, I really believe everyone deserves a shot. Whatever that is, whether that is economically, whether that's advancing through the career, whether it's like they have an idea, they want to bring it to life, everyone deserves a shot. And I got people who took a chance on me. And so I think technology can amplify and accelerate those opportunities for people. And that is my why. So it is a little bit of both. It is both personal, and certainly at Adobe, I get to get up and do that. And it also is not just for the customers and the people we serve at Adobe. It's actually for the people on my team and the people I get to lead. Is like, what are they trying to do? How are they trying to express themselves? How are they trying to grow? And how can I be there to like brainstorm and create with them and amplify and support it. So I really want everyone to have a shot, and I want everyone to be able to tell their story.
Well, I love this. And I think you have a lot of storytelling to do at this particular evolution in our technological advancement as a society. It's more interesting than I think it ever has been before. And more, uh, what's the word? Not like nuanced, or there's debate, maybe a little bit more scary than it's ever been before, or maybe not, in your opinion. I mean, I'd love to talk about AI and what this means for our future as people and as companies and employees, because the more we move into this evolution, the more questions I get, the more opinions I hear, and you're at the epicenter of this. So, at a high level, let's just start super high level with AI. What's your take? Good or bad? Let's really oversimplify it.
Yeah, it's two letters, AI, that we're all thinking about and curious about. Look, I think it's ultimately good. I'm like a realistic romantic, in that if you think about some of the technological changes we've seen in our lifetime, and I've seen in my career. First, it was the internet, and then it was the rise of social media and search, and then mobile, and then going to the cloud. I think what feels more, maybe I would say, frenetic about this one, is that it's like all of those shifts on steroids, right? It's happening fast. The rate of how the technology is evolving is so fast. Um, and the ability for people to start participating because of these chat-based interfaces is bigger than some of the bar to entry for previous technology. So because of that, it's here, it's now, it feels frenetic. I know there's a lot of questions, a lot of angst. And I think those are good things. We should be asking questions. We should see both the positives and we should start thinking about some of the implications. Um, I would break it down into a few pieces. We have been, as humans, living with different types of AI for more than a decade, right? Certainly in software, there has been artificial intelligence and machine learning, in medical research, right? In all sorts of sectors, there has been this technology. Um, the rise of generative technology, right? The ability to talk to the computer and then have these AI models, and increasingly they're calling in agents, go and sort data is the new technology. And again, I think it opens up a lot of possibilities, but we also have to be thoughtful about it. And so, number one, as you look at software, it can help unlock productivity, right? There's a lot of different applications people are using. There's a lot of, I would say, drudgery that you have to do in your day to day that it can do. And I don't think, those of us in these roles are not sad to not have to sort and shift and open different applications if we could just ask, that the AI assistant a question or have it summarize thing or have it locate different documents. So that's one. Number 2 is it does lower the floor for entry for different types of people into new areas. And, the one I think about every day, at Adobe is like, what does it mean for the future of creativity? What does it mean to express yourself and content creation? And what does it mean for marketers? And so in that sense, there are professional designers, graphic designers, filmmakers, like they're always going to come up with the most amazing, beautiful, inspiring, impactful work. I don't think that changes with AI. Um, but people like myself have ideas too, and we need a way to be able to bring that to life. And so the barrier to entry now to do that is much easier and faster.
Okay, so talking about a designer though, isn't their biggest threat AI if it can generate images now at my prompt, which it did. Just the other day, my daughter and I were playing with ChatGPT and we said, make an ice butterfly. And it made an ice butterfly and it was gorgeous, right? That replaces, not that we would have hired a designer to make an ice butterfly, but it replaces, in a professional context, a person. And isn't that person your consumer? I mean, where are the, um, where is the, how do you see the competitive landscape for the people who use Adobe?
Yeah, I think again, these are questions that we're talking to our customers about, that we're thinking about. I think the question then I would have back to you is like, before you did that with your daughter, would you hire a designer to do that?
No.
And so no, so but now you and your daughter can bring your ideas to life in a way that you couldn't before, right? For professional designers, what we have seen is that integrating AI into the tools they already know and love has unlocked time. And actually, when you look at the design process over the last few years, a lot of the time and quite frankly, the money has been spent on the editing to production. And so if you're a designer, if you're filming, if you work at an agency, you only get a few shots at ideas. You present it to the world, you present it to your clients, and then all the time is spent on tweaking, evolving, producing, and getting that idea out. What has been interesting and exciting is when you're able to do parts of that process faster, the parts that no one was really enjoying, clicking on layers and layers and layers, you actually have more time for ideation. And some of this ideation with AI can be so good that you want to get it into production right away. So it's changing the creative process. And it's opening up more space for ideas. That's the lens I look at through the creative professional. For folks who have ideas, you can now share them, right? And everyone has a different fidelity that's important to them. So I think you know, a local business might not be able to hire a designer to do their social media, but now they can use some of these tools to do it. right? A global brand like Adobe or others that we work with, they do care about being on brand. They do care about IP. They do care about the fidelity of the design. And so these tools will augment and accelerate the work of their designers, their agencies, et cetera. So I don't think it's a one size fits all in how people and different customers will use AI and what the impact will be on those roles.
So what's interesting is we work with a lot of companies that are investing in AI, and headlines are being made worldwide about folks that are being quote replaced by AI. But in all of the client work I'm doing, I have seen very little job roles within companies be replaced by AI. What I'm seeing more is we have a layoff and then we announce it has to do with AI investment, but really that investment is going to exploring whether or not AI can make us more efficient. I haven't seen entire departments getting replaced yet necessarily, and where most companies are focusing is in how they can infuse AI into their product for their customer. And I think we're still trying to figure out now, and what does this mean for our internal efficiency as a company? I'm curious from a company perspective at Adobe, how are you using AI to be more efficient, not to sell better products, but rather internally?
Yes, thank you for asking that. And certainly there are a lot of headlines, and I would say, your assessment is what I see is like we are still very much in the early days of like what this will mean for the workforce and what parts of a role will become more automated versus not. Certainly for Adobe, like we're focused on upskilling, so making sure that our employees are using AI, experimenting, not just Adobe tools, other tools as well, to say, like, hey, how could I unlock more productivity or more collaboration that wasn't possible before? How could I make processes or systems better, faster, easier? And each discipline has a different goal, ways to experiment, right? Certainly, there's a ton going on in engineering. That's a little bit different than what's happening in marketing or what's happening in human resources. But at a company level, we're asking employees to come together and try out some certain projects and see what we learn and go from there. And also asking employees to try the different AI technology tools. Like you said, there's a lot of investment. So there's a lot of tools, a lot of applications that were being pitched as well to find the ones that are useful, right? And as an industry, there is a lot of innovation, but we need to have humans work on like what are the best use cases. And that's where we're at as a company. And so, for my organization, um, we use AI assistants to summarize documents, to actually like run through the work we've created to say like, "Hey, does this soundbite actually pop? Or is there another way you would say this?" Which is, I think, exciting, fun. It's new, it's different, and what I've seen actually with my team is the first step is giving people permission to do so, to try it. Because to your point, there's like, if I use AI, what does that mean for my role? But as you illustrated, we're still very early. And so we have to be the ones to figure out how we're going to evolve with AI and what parts of the process are better served by a computer. So a human can do the strategic, the creative, the insight, and like the fun parts of the job.
Yeah. The change management of the whole thing has been fascinating for me because what I'm seeing a lot of executives do is push down the responsibility of figuring it out to the teams below and say, the mandate is you guys got to figure out how you can be more efficient with AI. Let us know. And then they want that information, they want that to be played with. They want people to figure it out and then trickle that information back up and see what sticks, which it's a little bit like the blind leading the blind. I think the reason why a lot of executives aren't saying use this now is because people don't know. This is new to everyone. And there are those who are more enthusiastic about embracing new technology and experimenting with new flows, and then people who are more resistant. I'm curious, I know when you were at the New York Times, you were part of this industry in a time where there was a major transition, right? So you're a change expert. How do you manage change when no one is really sure what's going on in the future?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in many ways, that was the beginning of the digital transformation. And so, in hindsight, we learn, which is the technology is happening, right? And so it is the people who choose to embrace it, who try it, and who evolve both themselves, but make the technology useful to them that will succeed over the people that don't, right? And whether that was the rise of like just doing internet marketing or content creation, whether that's social media, like the people who just said, I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to try, have gone farther than those have that don't. And same with the companies, right? Like you have to embrace change. And at Adobe, we have our chief people officer has brought together a group of senior leaders cross functionally to say, like, this is a mandate. To your point, it has to start from the top to bring people along. And to share learnings across disciplines and to make this learning as part of the culture. So I think that's really important in the change management process is having leaders show up to say, this is important that we try it. And that was my point on like giving people permission to just start playing with it, using it, coming up with ideas. And then making the space, not just to test, but to learn and having senior leaders be involved in like the updates, the learning, and also using it themselves, right? I mean, every week we have an AI Friday where a different team will say, this is what we tried this week, this is what we learned. Do you have an experience with that? And it's just as important for me to engage and me to use the tools as it is for everyone else in the organization so that we're marching forward on as much as the same page as we can be in. But I would say you have to embrace the technology because it's going to happen. It's already here. And then you have to have the right partners, both internally, like we're talking about, who are the change experts, and who are your external partners who, you believe are also trying to solve the same things that you can co-create and co-develop together.
Can you tell me more about AI Friday? What is the platform for that and who's invited?
Yeah. So in my organization, it's two of my team members raised their hand and they were like, "Hey, we have these monthly meetups, if you will, where people are coming together to talk or share ideas and projects, but like there is a lot happening on a week by week basis and it's hard to keep track of it all, right?" And so, I mean, these are folks who are in communications. They're like, "We want to capture what's happening every week for our colleagues and also spotlight how different people are finding progress or not, and that or not part is super important." And so they do a recap. They actually bring together a lot of different pieces of information and use AI to summarize the recap, and then they share it on Slack, in our organization Slack, and then anyone can come in, comment, share, add their own color to it.
That's really interesting. That's using the power of storytelling to help facilitate change, right? People are reading those stories in Slack, and that's sending a signal about the kind of cultural belief that we embrace here, which is change and innovation. And that's going to lead people to be more likely to take action than not. Although, I mean, I would even say you said something about it's important to give people permission. For those listening, I don't think you wait for permission on this one. I feel like if you are not experimenting with AI and investigating and accelerating your own personal skills, this is now more than ever the place where you get left behind, I think. I mean, I'm jumping into AI whether my boss gives me permission or not, because I think I'll be on top at the end of it if I do that. I mean, that is a bit of a fear based mentality, but it is where my head's at when it comes to AI.
And I support that. I think, it's good when a leader, it's important and it helps, says, hey, you're empowered to do that. But you truly can't wait because again, the people who embrace it now will be farther ahead than the people who don't. And
Totally.
it's moving so quickly, right? And when I was first, starting out and social media, people would say like, "How do you do it?" And I was like, "You just do it. You got to go in, you got to create an account, you got to share something, and you got to get in the flow of it so you understand what the tools are about." And then you can figure out what works for you, what part of it you want to be a part of, what you don't. But that's with any new technology. You just got to try it out because there's a learning curve, which is of course natural. And the sooner you do that, then you will be able to understand the context of all of these headlines and the latest innovation and what is helpful to you and what is noise.
Yeah. So you guys have a product that generates video, right?
Yes, we have what's called Adobe Firefly, which is an application where you can really do the creative process, right? You can come up with ideas. If you want to do a prompt and you want an image or you want a video, you can do that. You can also use it to make modifications and edits to the image, to the video, etc. And we'll be adding and announcing new capabilities to this as well. So that is all AI assisted in Firefly. And then we've infused AI into products like Premiere Pro that many people use for video editing and production. We've infused it across Photoshop, Illustrator. We have a new Premiere Pro app for mobile. And so there's AI there as an assistant. It's really infused and baked in. And then Firefly is really like your end to end, where you can bring AI in and out of the full creative process, from generating things to actually producing them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about the future of the implications of video creation, right? Everyone's talking right now about like, oh, the danger and is it real and is it not, and family codes, whatever. But there's also, I think, an incredible amount of opportunity in that in particular, because if you can generate video advertisements, for example, the amount of potential in that market of companies that need to create video content for advertising is wow, right? I mean, I see Adobe just exploding into that market. If I mean, people are going to embrace the AI video content creation because we have our leaders leading the way by sharing AI generated content. So people are going to be on board with it. It could be explosive growth for Adobe. I bet you're counting on it.
we're we're very excited about video
Yeah.
as a medium. And I'll break it down for you a few ways. First and foremost, excuse me, to your point, like every brand has to now have video
Right.
because video has become the global form of communications, right? First it was images and now it's video. And you see the largest social platforms prioritizing video. And in many ways, back to storytelling, motion is the most compelling form of storytelling, right? And
Yeah.
so massive opportunity, but also massive challenge for a brand to be able to create that much video. And so we have created and are delivering tools to assist with the video creation, but then also the variations, right? And so we have it's called Adobe Gen Studio, where you can put your assets in there, whether it's video, whether it's images, um, increasingly 3D, and AI can make variations for it so that you can have more than just one asset, because all marketers know you need thousands of assets, you need to AV test, and you need to localize them and translate them, right? And so that's where like AI really comes in to accelerate content for personalized marketing. That's one piece. Then the other piece, which is really important, is like the economics of small business. And again, when I asked, well, would you and your daughter have been able to, would you pay a designer? It's like, there are so many small businesses that are the backbone of the economy that don't have marketing budgets, either because they can't afford it or because they're just starting out. But in order to get new customers, in order to stand out, they should be able to have access to these tools too. So we're delivering that through tools like Firefly and Express, right? And then the third area, which I don't know if you count yourself in this group, is like the rise of creators, which is like you have a podcast, increasingly it's video, and you need the right tools to tell the story. Um, and so we want to be able to deliver that too, with products like Firefly, because whether it's YouTube, whether it's audio, whether it's any other platform, like there are amazing people doing amazing work on different topics, themes, and they should be able to have the tools to bring that to life. And it should help you grow your audience. And it shouldn't be so much to have to deal with all of the content aspects of it. That's what we want to do. So yes, video is a big opportunity. And then the last piece I would say, which you started to allude to, is like, how do you know if it's real or fake? Right. And video presents a really interesting and like just wild notion of how could someone make something that looks so real that is fake. And from Adobe, we realized like you're never going to be able to whack-a-mole the bad actors who want to use any technology or any innovation to do something for harmful reasons. Like, however, what we feel we can do is one, bring people in the industry together to try and come up with a standard to then arm consumers with. And that's called content credentials. So, content credentials are baked into all of our AI tools. If you're in Photoshop, if you're in Premiere, if you're looking at Firefly, you can actually see the trail of what's been created, modified, or edited. So, in that sense, you, Jessica, would say, oh, this was actually used AI to be generated. Now you can decide, well, if Stacy did that, do I feel like she had good intentions or not? Or this has been changed 3 times since Stacy originally published this, and that's a red flag to me. So we've been focused on content credentials, um, as an open source and a system that anyone can use from software companies to the social networks to actually at the point of capture on phones for a picture so that the trail is baked in. And I think public awareness is the area that we're really excited and focused and passionate about, and where we actually think the rubber hits the road in terms of deciding what's real and fake, and then does it matter?
Right. I've also been reading up a lot on rogue AI, where AI is built with certain parameters and then leveraged within organizations to facilitate a process, either a logic process or, for example, there was a famous story about Zillow, I believe, where they built an AI tool to analyze investment properties. And then it was built on the parameters of a typical economic situation that existed when the AI was built. Then the economic wave hit, things went down south, and AI still was making the assumption that the economic conditions were as they were before. And so they were making many recommendations that were bad. And Zillow lost a bunch of money in that. So there's like this whole cybersecurity AI specific world that's emerging that I don't think people have figured out. That was just one example, but also the over or under reporting of anomalies in radiology, for example, was another one where rogue I can't remember which direction it went in, but whatever, it was problematic, right? Are you investing in, I'm sure, but what have you seen, if anything, with regards to rogue AI that needs to be reined in?
Yeah, not to get too technical for a minute. So rein me in if I go there, but I think it helps people understand like how you get to that state, which is when you're talking about generative AI in sense that you can go in and type something or talk to an app and it gives you information, right? Or increasingly there's agents that can do a task for you, right? That is at like the interface application layer. Under that are these models, right? And there can be different models for powering all sorts of these chats, right? And there's models like, for instance, for imaging, there's models for video, there's models just for text, right? So then under those models is data. And that's where it really comes down to is the models are pulling from different data sets. So if that data set isn't updated because of the economic conditions evolving, or if that data set is biased against a certain group of medical information, that's what the model is going to train on. That's what it's going to learn on. That's what it's going to infer on, right? And that's going to influence the results you get. And so the importance of having the right data, the right security, the right privacy, all of those protocols at the data level is very important. And that's something at Adobe that we, spend a lot of time on is making sure that we're doing the data in a responsible manner because ultimately that's what affects the outcome that the end customer gets, right? And so there's also hallucinations, which I think, there's been a lot of conversations like the model is not perfect every time and it's truly learning and developing as each person engages with it. So it's not going to be perfect. And so it can have hallucinations at that level, but mostly it comes down to like the hygiene of the data. And that's really important. And I think, companies are and should, it's certainly Adobe, and we're, working with policymakers to really think about what are the right protocols. And also, again, because this is moving so fast, what is the right communications and transparency with customers and the public so that they can understand as well, how to think about this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, this is the fake news phenomenon was fascinating to me because as more fake news entered mainstream media and the zeitgeist generally through social media, it began to be more and more difficult to understand what's real and what's not real. Now I hear real news that sounds fake and I dismiss it as impossible because I'm using some internal clock because I really don't trust anything out there. And I'm curious how the evolution of reality will be impacted by this from a video perspective when we're at the last months of AI being obvious because fingers look weird. I think, I mean, we've had the benefit of transitioning to AI video by seeing that's clearly fake, but we're about done with that phase. And now AI can generate video that looks real. And so when you can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not, does everything seem fake? So for example, how much money is Bradley Cooper going to get for wearing a Gucci watch in an advertisement when that can be generated? And his face or something close to it is no longer going to have as much weight from a personal brand perspective. The dystopian question is interesting to me, what we will believe in the future when everything can be generated. Have you thought about that at all? I'd be curious your thoughts.
You got a lot of questions in there, Jessica, and
Yeah,
they're all
sorry.
yeah, yeah.
7 questions in one.
Look, I think, there's what's being called AI slop, which is like an image comes out and it's like the hand is not right. So it's very clear, like, that was created by AI and that is not how a human looks, right? Um, and some of that will improve over time with the technology. I would not go so far as to say, like, we're increasing the because at the same time, you have to have the data sets continuing to evolve as well as the models. So that's where I do think there is a role for humans as designers, as editors, as like fact checkers, even of video to say, like, does this make sense or not? Right. So I think that's an area, the AI slop, that's real. Um, and there will be a role for humans. But at the same time, yes, it will get better. And so that's the real or fake question. And as consumers, as the public, we now carry the responsibility of verifying before we trust something, right?
Mhm.
It used to be trust and verify. That's what we would always talk about in journalism. And now it's like you have to verify first before you trust it. So that's how I see things playing out from a, media consumption, knowledge, information, news standpoint. And we need to work with consumers and the public to really understand that, going forward. I think on the IP, basically, does Bradley Cooper get to continue to make money for being Bradley Cooper? Like, we do feel like there should be protections for people's styles, right? So when you think about a certain artist or a designer who has a unique style, they have been able to benefit and monetize from that style. Like, we would like there to be some protection for that, and we're talking to policymakers about it because I think that's an area where um, we see a lot of potential to have some checks and balances, right? And then at the same time, um, there is work being done on contracts, right? And so that creators, no matter who you are still able to monetize their IP and write contracts in a way, especially when it comes to derivative work, so that they can continue to benefit from it. So we're on a new frontier on many of these legal issues that we are, certainly advocating for creators to be compensated, and certainly around the style aspect.
I'm wildly impressed with your ability to remember all of my questions in that little monologue and revisit and answer beautifully every single one. I feel like, wow, good job.
They were all great questions, and I think about them all too,
Yeah,
it's
well,
just
I
like
appreciate you.
hard.
That's why you're the chief communications officer, right? Okay, so I have one last question, and I will stick to just one, which is, what is something that you don't get asked about very often in these types of interviews that you wish you were asked more often?
That's such a good question. Um, I wish people would ask, "What do you not know?" Because, as much as we just had a really, what I found to be an engaging conversation, and certainly, given my experience and given the work I do at Adobe, I think deeply and am exposed to some of the best minds in the world. Like, this is all changing so fast that there's a lot of things that I don't know, and I don't think anyone knows, right? And coming up the ranks, I always thought you had to give, like, the perfect polished answer, and I actually think there's more power increasingly if you don't have the immediate answer, or you can kinda brainstorm with someone along the way. I think that actually helps anyone listening, the interviewer, even myself, think even more deeply about some of these really hot topics that will have long-term implications. So, what do you not know?
That is a beautiful question. I love that philosophy. I think more leaders could use that life pro tip. Just say, I don't know. It will make you more human and you won't guide people down the wrong path just to quote, look good, right?
Yes, yes. It's always a choice on anonymous surveys. Yes, no, I don't know.
Right, exactly. I mean, I have felt that pressure. Maybe it was even when I started to begin in leadership, where it was, well, now that the boss, I need to know the answer to everything, and it felt like weakness to be vulnerable and to expose what I didn't know. But now I embrace it more than ever because otherwise, I'm just lying, and you're going to get busted at this point. I mean, there's no lying anymore. It doesn't work. You have to live with integrity.
That's actually one of the benefits of where we are in this technological cycle. I think authenticity can be underrated, but it is very powerful.
It is. Well, thank you, Stacy, so much for this conversation. I love talking to you about this. You're at the heart of the matter. You're more intelligent on this topic than ever before. You didn't give us a bunch of fluff, which I appreciate, and I learned a lot. So I'm very, very grateful for your time.
Well, I am so happy to be here. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for all the super smart, thoughtful questions. And I hope your listeners can take something away, and I can't wait to hear what they do.
No doubt they will. Thanks, Stacy.
Thank you.